Hi there, it's Dr. Birch with just kind of a video lecture update on some key topics that I want to accentuate from our studies the last few weeks. One quick housekeeping item, make sure you check the announcements for some updates and further instructions about the pathway from here to the end of the semester. I wanted to talk for a few minutes about three topics that matter and that are interrelated: case conceptualization, clinical assessment, and theoretical integration. Now, as you know, case conceptualization is the process of taking the data and information of a client and then examining it through the lens of a particular theory. Clinical assessment, on the other hand, is the collection of clinically relevant information that can affect your case conceptualization, but which also can provide signposts for critical issues that need to be handled, such as suicidality, imminent marital dissolution, child abuse, and other serious problems that, or medical issues that may require direct and immediate intervention, regardless of your theory and your treatment plan. And theoretical integration is where we decide that we need more than one theory to approach and treat the situation at hand. So I just wanted to speak a little bit about theory. Are we monogamous or not when it comes to the date and marry metaphor that Dr. Gayhart uses? If you talk to different people, you'll get different answers. Dr. Futterman would say, pick one theory, become the best expert at it you can, and you never need to move away from that theory. Dr. Bacon would say, for training purposes, pick a theory, stick with it while you're a young therapist, and don't branch out until later. Other people would say that they're eclectic, which frankly oftentimes means they sort of fly by the seat of their pants and they're never quite sure what they're going to use in a given day. I would put myself between all of those positions as a systematic integrationist, which is to say, I believe that it's very difficult to find one psychotherapy theory that covers the whole range of human existence, no matter what problem, population, or time period you're talking about, and which has adequate power to produce therapeutic change no matter what. Now, some theories do a better job of that than others. Jungian theory is very broad and expansive. It covers the whole range of human existence, and it's very deep and intricate about that. That might be part of why Dr. Futterman, feels that being theoretically singular is effective. But theories such as solution-focused have critical concepts that underlie, I think, a healthy change process, but which by itself lacks sufficient depth or complexity to capture all of the problems. And asking a domestically violent, substance abusing man who also had his kids taken away from him, well, tell me some exceptions to your problems, is just really not all that fruitful. But on the other hand, it can be very powerful in helping that guy to say, what do I really want in my life? If a miracle happened and I could change all this bull crap I've put through myself through, what would that look like? So in summary, any individual theory is probably not sufficient, but more than one theory needs to be integrated. And so I just want to kind of provide you an example of what that might look like in practice. And I'm going to use a video from, what's her name? Insoo Kim Berg. You saw her video doing therapy with I believe it was a mother and her son, but she also did another one with a married couple. And this couple was in a lot of distress because they were constantly fighting. They weren't spending a lot of time together. He was a big, highfalutin attorney with 80-hour-a-week workload and making a lot of money. And she was working full-time, but also having to take care of the kids. And she felt ignored by him, and he felt like she just doesn't understand. I'm doing this all for her to build up so I can become a partner, and then we'll have money to do all these great things. And so when they came to couples therapy, they were very polarized in terms of seeing each other as the problem. And Insoo demonstrated in a really vivid way the power of solution-focused therapy. When she asked them the miracle question, it was almost like I don't know, a light came on. That's not even strong enough. It was almost like it was the first time they both stopped fighting and viewing each other and listing all the problems long enough to go, well, what would I really like? And the the wife said something like, I just wish that he would hold me once in a while. And he said, I just wish that she appreciated what I'm trying to do. And it was a real turning point for them, right? But in the end, it probably wasn't sufficient, but it did get them unstuck and move them towards further. That's my wife for you. So uh, move them towards further sort of exploration of what do they need to do. And what they found is that essentially the two of them, had unresolved attachment injuries to their relationship. She believed he'd been unfaithful to her. He believed that she's not there for him. There were instances that fueled those beliefs that resided in their minds. Secondly, they weren't very effective about sharing the underlying feelings and dreams beneath the conflict that they were having, and instead focused on, you need to change this and you need to do that better. So there's some data for you. Now, what's a case conceptualization? Just to be clear, the easiest way to do a case conceptualization is to make an outline as though you were writing a Wikipedia article about the theory you've chosen. Emotionally focused therapy, main concept. 3 basic concepts defined. And then what I like to do is just name each of those with a bold-faced label, 1 to 3 word label, and a colon. And then I go through those headings and basically try to demonstrate to the reader of my paperwork, hey, this theory fits the situation, and here's the data to prove it. So for example, solution-focused theory posits that when people get stuck in painful situations that feel repetitive to them, they become focused on eliminating that problem, and they become what we call problem saturated in their viewpoints, which causes them to keep trying harder and harder to do the same thing over and over again, which instead of resulting in progress results in polarization, because when 2 people see the other person digging in against them, then they dig in, and then when the first sees the second digging in, then they dig in, and so forth until they end up way out here. Some basic concepts of solution focus include problem saturated descriptions need to switch to solution focused descriptions. Miracle question that helps people to envision a more positive future, and a search for exceptions, for example. So I could go through this couple and I could say, hey, look, this couple evidences problem saturated thinking. For example, whenever they're asked to explain what they'd like to see differently, they always answer in terms of what they want the other person to stop doing. They don't seem to be able to spontaneously generate descriptions of what the goal is. With regards to the miracle question, the couple seems to spend little time pondering and viewing possible solutions, but rather is dug in and fighting back and forth. Search for exceptions. The couple's problem-saturated descriptions are so critical and vituperative that they don't seem to believe that the other person is capable of performing the behaviors that they expect from them. So in that way, I just kind of went through and succinctly demonstrated to you, hey, this couple, guilty as charged. They're problem saturated. They don't search for exceptions. They don't ponder their future. They don't try new things. They just keep staying dug in. Now, with regards to, is that sufficient? Well, treatment plan, create exceptions, find exceptions, envision the future, try something different. Okay, like what, right? It's all fine and good to philosophically believe that people are capable of generating their own solutions over time, and as long as you point that out to them, then they start doing more of that and then they get better. But the fact is, they're coming to you because they're stuck, not because they know the answer. And so, in my view, that's where I say, well, what's the most likely thing that would produce exceptions to the rule for them if they were to engage in it? Well, how about emotionally focused conflict processing skills. So I might say, you know, further in my case conceptualization, I believe that this couple is experiencing attachment injuries, colon, wife reports believing that he's been unfaithful to her, feeling concerned that he stopped wearing his wedding ring, etc. Husband complains that the wife's never there for him, doesn't provide him emotional support, and has left him alone too much. Uh, the inability to express hurt feelings is a core concept of EFT, colon, inability to express hurt feelings, colon. The couple, when asked to discuss their conflictual issues, get stuck in behavioral complaints and elaborate examples of the behaviors the other person does that anger them, but they don't really express in terms of how does that impact them. The couple would benefit from doing so. Clinical assessment, so if I were to fill out the case conceptualization with those sorts of things, and then go into clinical assessment, I would look for things like substance abuse, suicidal feelings, depression, anxiety, diet, sleep, exercise, clinical factors, some of which are medical in nature, that may fuel this. So if I find he's working 80 hours a week, he eats fast food 2 times a day, and he skips breakfast every morning and has a cup of coffee instead, well, no wonder he's anxious and irritable when he gets home and doesn't feel like being there for her. So I would want to document all those sorts of things too. And then when I went to my treatment plan, I pull that all together and write goals and objectives that respond to those dynamics that I've identified. So in the Gayheart form, she's kind of done the work for you of creating checklists and concepts that you can kind of read through for each of your theories. What I'm encouraging you to do is to use those checklists as a guide, but to think a little deeper in your own mind about, well, how is that really playing out, and documenting that. Okay, so in summary, I feel like if you follow this model, then your paperwork becomes simply a snapshot of your thinking process about the case and allows you to come up with a more rigorous plan. And depending on the requirements of the clinic at which you work, you may or may not, your paperwork may or may not match your thinking. But what I hope you'll learn from this class is that you need to go through that mental process, whether it's documented or not. The process of thinking through and go, what's really relevant? As a marital therapist, in a sense, I almost go through that entire case conceptualization checklist and say, where's the pathology, right? Where are the different things according to different theories that this couple is struggling with? And then depending on what I find, I target from there. For example, if I find evidence of untreated child abuse, if I find evidence of severely sort of emotionally dysfunctional family of origin, then I'm much more likely to add a trauma-focused and object relations aspect to my marital therapy. Whereas if the problem is, nobody's perfect, nobody's parents are perfect, everybody could do some imago work, and everybody probably should. But if the salient issue is we're fighting all the time, and we have an attachment injury we've never resolved, then that becomes my primary focus. So use the form as a guide to help you solidify your thinking. Okay, well, I hope you're having fun with this. We have a couple weeks left. Have fun with it. Keep in touch with me. Review the feedback I've provided and the announcement, and let's move forward from there. Thank you.